Let us offer our consecration to the Lord. Lord, we offer up to you this day, and we ask that your name be glorified in all that we do. We ask that we may serve you. We ask that we may honor you. We ask that we may love you, and we ask that we may be humble in our service to you. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Well, today is a rather unique feast. It's an optional feast, actually memorial, and it happens to be one of my favorite saints, and that is Saint Juan Diego. If anyone can attribute to the fact that all people are called to holiness and how we are not supposed to assume that just only the priests and the bishops and the religious are called to be holy, Juan Diego is the man to look at. And it's not because we can say he was holier than everyone else, and I think he would have been very upset to hear that. It's that he became an agent of the kingdom to the bishops. And it's a powerful message. Now, I know, again, many in the evangelical community may not fully understand this. But speaking to a Boston community, I will let you know that if you go over by the airport and you go up into that section of East Boston, there's a big shrine there. It's called the Madonna Queen Shrine. And in there was a replica of what is known as the Tilma of Juan Diego. And there's a powerful story behind it. Now, it's a replica. It's an official replica. It's got, the indication that this is an official replica of this exact Tilma. So, for those of you who don't know the story, it's a wonderful story about Juan Diego. Juan Diego was he was a farmer. He was working out in the field, and Mary appears to him in a place that we now call Guadalupe. And this is obviously in Mexico. And now you have to understand that Juan Diego would be a descendant of the Aztecs. Of course, this is a converted Mexico, and many of the people have been converted to the Catholic faith. And so Juan Diego is there. Now, the other thing you have to understand is in the pagan Aztec world, very similar to many of the pagan worlds throughout the world, so many of the pagan cultures throughout the world, human sacrifice was common. In fact, as I explained to you before, you can go and look in the book of Jeremiah, and you will find that one of the reasons why God is coming down on his people is that they abandoned him. And when they abandoned him, they would embrace the customs of the people around them. And oftentimes it involved human sacrifice, and it's specifically mentioned in the book of Jeremiah. So in Jeremiah, this is obviously Jeremiah speaking to Judah. This precedes the time of the Babylonian exile, because what God is saying through Jeremiah is that he is going to turn Judah over to Nebuchadnezzar. So this is not too soon before, but this is before the Babylonian exile. And one of the reasons why he is going to do this is, as it says in Jeremiah 33, they turn their backs on me, not their faces. So they're turning their backs on God. And in this case, he's making it literal. Though I taught them persistently, they would not listen or accept correction. Instead, they set up their abominations in the house which bears my name in order to defile it. So what's happening, of course, is that they are taking over the house, which is the temple, and they are bringing in pagan images and pagan practices. They built high places to Baal in the valley of Ben Hinnom to sacrifice their sons and daughters to Molech. I never commanded them to do this, nor did it ever enter my mind that they would practice this abomination so as to bring sin upon Judah. That is, of course, Jeremiah 32:35 from the New American Bible, Revised Edition. And we're looking at that. So we see that this practice of whenever they turn their back on God, they would embrace the customs, including human sacrifice, we can clearly see in this passage. And this is pretty constant. So now it is almost a reverse of that. There is a conversion to Catholicism, and with that puts an end to the human sacrifice practiced by the Aztecs. You go all the way down the Americas prior to the arrival of Christianity, and you will know that there was human sacrifice practiced all the way down from Mexico south, all the way down. The Incas practiced it, the Mayans practiced it, and the Aztecs practiced it. So that was a common practice, as was done in the cultures all over the world in many cases. As a matter of fact, in the Western world, human sacrifice was put an end to by the Romans. The Romans would conquer these cultures and say, knock off the human sacrifice. And so that was a common practice. So in a sense, we get the opposite here. But always look at this. Human sacrifice is a form of genocide. Without question, is a form of, so that's what you're looking at, this genocide that has passed. And now here is Juan Diego. He is out in the field, and Mary appears to him, and now he's got to go tell the bishop. And you can guess what the bishop says. And we're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. You're listening to St. Anthony Overnight from St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, right here on WEZE 590 AM. And you can also hear us at CatholicAudiomedia.com. We'll be right back right after this. Do you know that you can put together an adoration chapel of your own in your own house? With concerns surrounding the coronavirus and social distancing, many miss the opportunity to pray before the Blessed Sacrament. However, with a little ingenuity, it is quite easy, and you are not doing anything irreverent or illicit. Simply search Eucharistic Adoration Live on YouTube, and several live channels in different parts of the world will pop up. Now you can engage in Eucharistic adoration in your own home if it is not available in your local parish church. Eucharistic Adoration Live on YouTube. St. Anthony Parish, Allston, Massachusetts. And don't forget, when you're listening to this program, if there's something here that touches you, let people know. Also, let us know. You can go and leave a comment. You can send us a comment through our contact tab over at CatholicAudiomedia.com, but let people know. Share the website. Share where you found us on the radio. Let people know so we can increase our listening audience. We want more people to know. And by the way, always remember, you have a standing invitation to the 10 o'clock a.m. Mass on Sundays, and now we have a 5:30 p.m. Mass Monday through Thursday. So you're welcome to come there as well. So check that out. So anyway, we're talking about this powerful reality. So what happens, what Mary is actually going to communicate to the people of the Aztecs is she's communicating, obviously, her son, the Aztec descendants, her son, and to let them know this genocide is over. It has come to an end. Which is the genocide of the human sacrifice that was practiced by the Aztecs. Now, and I think it was 1,000 a day they would sacrifice over at Tenochtitlan, which is now Mexico City. So we see that, and now he goes and he tells the bishop. What's the bishop going to say? What usually bishops say? Oh, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you saw Mary. I'm sure you did. You know, I don't know exactly what he said, but the words along those lines. And so he goes back to Mary, and it's kind of a long story that I don't have the time in this short program to do, but I can give you a general idea. And eventually what happens is there's several things that happen, but one of the main things that happen is Mary asks him to take off his cloak, which is his tilma, and he does, and she puts flowers into the tilma for him to hold with the tilma so that he can bring these flowers to the bishop. Now, it's around October, and October, the flowers aren't, roses aren't really flowering like this. Roses are the symbol of Mary. So it in itself is a great symbol. So he goes to bring this to the bishop as a sign that he is actually seeing the mother of Jesus. And I've heard two accounts of this. One of them is that he goes into the casa parroquial, which would be the parish house, the bishop's house. He goes into the foyer and he trips, and the flowers go everywhere, and therefore they're not arranged the way Mary arranged them. Another one is he dropped them. In any case, what happens is that he's expecting them to see the flowers. And suddenly he sees the bishop and all his people who are with him on their knees. And he's going, what's going on? And he takes a look at the tilma and sees this image has been impressed upon it. And there is the image that is the well-known image of what is known as Our Lady of Guadalupe, who, by the way, is the patron of the Americas and the patron of the unborn, by the way. So this is the famous story of Guadalupe. Now, one of my favorite parts of this, always remember Mary focuses on Jesus. We don't worship Mary, we venerate Mary. We don't worship Mary. She is fully human. Jesus is fully human, fully divine. So Mary leads us to focus on Jesus. Back around the 30s, I guess it was, there was a man who decided he wanted to destroy that tilma. So he put a bomb right under it. And obviously the bomb exploded and the tilma was left undamaged. But a distance from the bomb, quite a distance from the bomb, there was a crucifix that absorbed all the impact of the bomb, and that was destroyed, but the tilma was fine. Something similar happened in France in our lifetime. If you remember, when Notre Dame was on fire, people had to go somewhere else to church. And where did they go? They went to, in French, the word is Sacred Heart. You know I don't speak French. French word is Sacred Heart. So they went to the Sacred Heart Church, and that too is a message, because Mary always points to Jesus. She never points to herself. We do not worship Mary. We venerate Mary as the mother of Jesus, who always leads us towards Jesus, and that's the important thing. And this, of course, was a powerful reminder to the bishop that this is real, which eventually gets out to the Aztec people, the descendants of the Aztec people, who understood that the genocide was over, that this Mary was going to lead them to the true God, who is Jesus. So that's a powerful thing with Saint Juan Diego, a humble servant of God and a humble farmer, I believe he was, and someone who also recognizes the great story of the layperson who has so much to offer. And sometimes they'll feel the bishop says, yeah. Don't go by that. Understand that you have been called by your baptisms to be servants of Christ. Know that Christ is working through you, so you're called to be a person of prayer in your service to Christ. We'll talk more tomorrow. Have yourself a blessed day. In Cristo vivimos.